The two best words in sports are Game 7. That's what we've got today here in Season 5 of the Miami Marlins franchise. Game 7 of the World Series. A champion will be crowned tonight. The moment we've all been waiting for is finally here. It's been a super exciting World Series, really a super exciting playoff run thus far, and it all comes down to this. If we win this game, we will win the World Series for the first time in 25 years. If we lose, well, that would suck. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Last episode, we played Game 6, an elimination game for us, trailing the series 3-2. And the big story of this game was the pitching matchup between two ace-caliber pitchers in Sandy Alcantara and Shane McClanahan. And neither of them made it through the second inning for a multitude of reasons. For Sandy, he got injured on the first at-bat of the game, taking a comebacker off the leg of Randy Arozarena, and he had to be taken out. Jeffrey Springs came in relief, and he did a very serviceable job. The bullpen was able to keep things strong, but it was really the offense who stole the show. Jesus Sanchez, 3 for 4, 2 homers. Jazz Chisholm went deep. Multi-hit games for Stu and Bichette, multiple runs driven in by De La Cruz. As for Shane McClanahan, coming off a Game 1 performance in which he threw 7 scoreless innings, this time he allowed 7 runs in less than 2 innings, getting the loss. Tampa Bay's offense had their best game of the World Series, but it didn't matter because our bats showed up. We've been waiting for it for the entire World Series. Our offense scored 10 runs combined through the first 5 games, and then we scored 10 runs in Game 6 alone. The offense stepped up in an elimination game, and we're going to need them to do it again. As for pitching, we've got our main man, Edward Cabrera, on the mound. The National League MVP and Cy Young gets one more crack at it. Cabrera's had 2 very strong pitching performances. In Game 1, he went 8 innings, allowing 3 runs, getting the loss. And then Game 4, on just 3 days rest, he threw 6 scoreless innings, allowing just 2 hits. Well, he once again is coming off of only 3 days rest. His arm is not fully 100%, and we are realistically going to get 4 or 5 innings out of him. But we know what he's capable of, and as long as we can have him for just half of the game, that's really all we can ask for. I think Sandy Alcantara's injury makes things kind of interesting because Alcantara was supposed to pitch in Game 6, and we figured he wouldn't be available for Game 7, but that might not be the case. We have had our doctors care for him around the clock all day with his leg injury, and we're hoping that he might be available out of the bullpen. His arm is 100% ready to go. He threw 5 pitches in Game 6, so I think his arm will be more than fine because he's had basically a whole week off. Who knows if Sandy Alcantara will pitch? Regardless, we may need our relievers. The bullpen has been very solid throughout the duration of the postseason, and we need one more good game out of the pitching and one more big performance from the offense. Welcome to Lone Depot Park here in South Beach, home of the Miami Marlins. As tonight, we've got Game 7 of the World Series. This is it. With everything on the line, the winner of this game wins a championship. It would be the Marlins' first in a quarter century, while it would be the Rays' first since, well, last season. This feels like the last dance for this Marlins core, with so many of our players entering free agency this offseason. And just so I can make it clear now, this will not be the last season of the series, regardless if we win or lose. We've still got plenty of business to finish with this team, regardless of tonight's result. Edward Cabrera and Shane Baz warming up in their respective bullpens. The National League pitching war leader facing off against the American League pitching war leader for the World Series championship. The Marlins will be making a surprise change to the lineup. No Isaac Stu. He will be on the bench, and we will use him in any pinch hit situation when we feel the time is right. Let's take a look at Edward Cabrera, who's been brilliant all season. If he pitches a good game tonight, he will complete what might be the greatest individual pitching season ever. MVP, Cy Young, no-hitter, and a brilliant postseason finished off with 3 strong starts in the World Series, but he's got to produce today. Arozarena starts things off with a fly ball into right. It's caught by Jesus Sanchez for the first out of the inning. That'll bring up Josh Lowe, who has 4 consecutive at-bats with base hits. dating back to Game 6, and he goes down looking on the fastball. First strikeout of the night for Cabrera. That'll bring up the shortstop, Wander Franco. He hits this ball high and deep into right center. Robert at the track, at the wall, it's gone! Wander Franco with a solo home run, and the Tampa Bay Rays are on the board quickly. They lead at 1-0. Franco with his second homer of the playoffs, his second consecutive game with a homer. He went deep in Game 6 in the first inning as well, and he does it again here in Game 7 to put the Rays on the board. Wander Franco has not had a good World Series. It took him 5 games to get a base hit. He finally got one there, and now he has caught fire. Hide your kids, because Wander Franco's coming. Not literally. That'll bring up Brandon Lau. Sharp grounder to third. Jacob Berry's throw is in time, and that'll wrap up the first inning. Pretty quick start for Cabrera and the Marlins, as every Rays batter either ends up being out or is a child predator. The home run from Wander Franco puts Tampa Bay on top, 1-0, as we go to the bottom of the first and we take a look at Shane Baz. He pitched in Game 2 of the World Series where he was fantastic. However, the Rays took him out way earlier than they should have, only through 4 innings of the game, where he had not allowed a run and only 2 hits. And then after that, the Rays' bullpen fell apart, and obviously the Marlins ended up getting the win. We'll see if they're a little bit smarter with how they utilize Baz tonight. We'll start with De La Cruz at the top of the order, back hitting leadoff. He grounds out to first. Matt Thais makes the play for out number 1. That'll bring up Jazz Chisholm, coming off a solid Game 6. One of the faces of this organization. Draws a walk. Good at bat. And the Marlins get their first base runner of the night. That'll bring up Luis Robert, who's been arguably Miami's best player throughout the postseason. Grounds it to second. Aranda to Franco to Thais. 4-6-3 double play. That'll wrap up the bottom of the first inning. Good job by the Tampa Bay infield to quickly turn 2. They lead it 1-0 through the first. This is the first time since Game 2 that the Marlins did not score in the first inning. Alfredo Herrera, last year's World Series MVP, strikes out. And Zach Veen joins him, going down on the circle change. Cabrera looks dialed in since allowing the home run to Wander Franco. We'll see if he can retire or strike out this side. It's the first baseman, Matt Thais. Swinging a miss on the fastball. Cabrera retires the side, strikes out the side. 3 Ks in a row. That's only good in baseball and not in real life. Let's go bottom 2 now, see if the Marlins can get anything going offensively. Woody Landry is hitting .500 in the World Series, 11 of 22. He's been brilliant, but he pops this one up over to third, and it's caught by Isaac Paredes for the first out of the inning. That'll bring up Bo Bichette, who obviously did not play in the first 2 postseason series. He's been a little disappointing in the World Series, but it does seem like he's played better as the games have gone along. He does ground out to third, though. Another nice play by Paredes. That'll bring up Alec Boehm, hitting nearly .400 across the entirety of the postseason. Swings and misses at the low slider. 2 no-hit innings for Baz. So far, so good for the most part for both of these pitchers as we move into the third. Jonathan Aranda leads things off, bloops it into left field. That will drop fair. That had such an unlucky bounce for the Marlins that Aranda's going to make it to second, and he is safe with a double despite a good throw by Brian De La Cruz. The Rays start the inning with a runner in scoring position and a great opportunity to add to their lead. Paredes strikes out on the curveball. Big pitch by Cabrera. Already his 5th K of the day. That'll bring up Arozarena. Check swing. Got him on the slider. Another strikeout for Cabrera. The Rays are really having trouble putting the bat to the ball right now. Josh Lowe, 2-2. Ooh, that one looked like it was strike 3. It was definitely in the strike zone, as you can see. Bad call by Angel Hernandez behind the plate. Following pitch, swinging a miss on the sinker. 7 strikeouts through 3 innings. Edward Cabrera looking very solid, but he's going to need some run support. The Marlins still without a hit yet as we go into the bottom of the third inning. Jesus Sanchez leads things off. Sanchez homered twice in Game 6, and he sends this ball high and deep into left center. Arozarena and Lowe at the track, at the wall. It's gone! Solo home run for Jesus Sanchez. And the Miami Marlins tie it at 1. Sanchez with his 5th home run of the postseason, his 4th homer of the last 3 games, and this one is knotted up with one swing of the bat. There are certain players who elevate their game in the biggest of moments, and that exactly is what Jesus Sanchez has done over these past few games. In an elimination Game 6, he homers twice. Here in Game 7, his first at-bat, he sends it over the fence, 419 feet into left center, and the Miami Marlins tie it at 1. Big swing for Sanchez. That'll bring up Jacob Berry now. He strikes out on the fastball. Nice pitch by Shane Baz, looking to get back into the swing of things after allowing the long ball. Nick Fortes now, the catcher, 2-1, rips it into right center. That's going to drop for a hit. Fortes, throughout the postseason, has been very shaky offensively. He's hit a few home runs, but he only was hitting 116 prior to that at bat as he rips a single into right center. Big hit for Fortes here in Game 7. That'll bring us back to the top of the order. De La Cruz lines this ball well into center. Low at the track, at the wall, it's gone! 2-run shot for Brian De La Cruz. His second home run of the postseason. And the Marlins take a 3-1 lead here in Game 7 of the World Series. A 2-run blast for Brian De La Cruz, who's had a pretty rough postseason after he was great all year. But here in Game 7, he makes one of the team's biggest plays of the World Series thus far as they had their first lead of the night. I didn't know if that ball had enough carry. He hit it super hard, and it just barely has enough height to make it over the fence. And so Miami leads it 3-1. Just a few swings of the bat can change everything. Jazz Chisholm, meanwhile, should not have swung the bat there. He is out at first, just barely. Should have taken the walk. But instead, we've got a close play that will be reviewed and ultimately challenged by Marlins manager Skip Shoemaker. We thought that Jazz was out at first in real time, but we figure that we're probably not going to have a call this close later in the game, so we might as well use the challenge. As you can see, boom, ball's in his glove just barely before Jazz's foot hits the base. It is a very close call, but I think this one is going to stand. Jazz Chisholm out at first. But let's get the official ruling from the umpires. And there you go. The challenge is deemed unsuccessful. The play stands. Jazz Chisholm is out. Full count, 2 away now for Luis Robert. After watching Jazz swing at some garbage, Robert has made sure to be very disciplined here. But Baz perfectly places a slider right on the edge of the strike zone, and he flies out into right center. Pretty damn good inning, though. The Marlins score 3 off of a pair of home runs by Jesus Sanchez and then a 2-run shot for Brian De La Cruz. The Marlins lead it 3-1. The offense has come alive, and Edward Cabrera has been great since the first inning, where he allowed a homer to Wander Franco, who strikes out on the curveball to get the 4th inning started. That's Cabrera's 8th K of the day. That'll bring up Brandon Lau. Liner to third. Berry bobbles it. Throw to first. Not in time. And E5 against Jacob Berry, who's usually a great defensive player, but he makes a mental blunder here in Game 7. That'll bring up last year's World Series MVP, Alfredo Herrera. Flies it high and deep into left center, makes it to the warning track, but Brian De La Cruz is under it for the second out of the inning, and the runner will retreat back to first. Big opportunity now for Zach Veen, the young right fielder. Count is 1-1. Veen liner to first. Woody scoops it up, tags the base, and that'll wrap up the 4th. Much of the same from Edward Cabrera. He has pitched a brilliant outing as it remains 3-1 in favor of the Marlins, who are going to look to add to their lead here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Woody Landry leads things off. He is obviously at the hot hand offensively as of recent. And Woody hits this ball high and deep into right center. Back at the track, it's gone! Solo home run for Woody Landry, his second of the postseason. And the Miami Marlins add to their lead as it is 4-1. Woody Landry was not good for most of the playoffs, but here in the World Series, he has been brilliant. And if the Marlins do hold on to win the World Series, I would have to imagine he's the favorite for the MVP, despite great series from guys like Jesus Sanchez and Edward Cabrera, assuming he finishes his day off strong. That was the perfect pitch to hit, and I think Woody mistimed it a little bit. He swung at it kind of early, but it didn't matter. It still went over the fence, and it's still 4-1. Bo Bichette with a sharp grounder to first. That was another really good pitch from Baz. Bichette nearly safe at first. Good hustle. But the throw was in time from Wander Franco. That'll bring up Alec Boehm. He's going to sky this one high and deep in a left center. Did the Marlins get another one out? No, not even close. What am I talking about? That one's caught by Josh Lowe for the second out. That'll bring up Jesus Sanchez, who homered in his first 2 at-bats of Game 6. That'd be pretty cool if he did that here in Game 7 after homering in the previous inning. As he hits this one high and deep in a right center. Low at the track, at the wall. It's caught. That one off the bat looked like it had enough carry, but not quite. Good inning, though. The Marlins add another run with a solo shot by Woody Landry, and it's 4-1. The Marlins are in a good spot, but they can't let the pedal off the metal. Edward Cabrera is back in the game, possibly for his final inning of the night, as he strikes out Matt Thaiss on the fastball. Good start. That's strikeout number 9. The Rays have not consistently been able to put the bat to the ball at all. Jonathan Aranda should not have swung at that pitch. It's an outside sinker. Jazz Chisholm fields it cleanly for the second out of the inning. Can Cabrera finish off the 5th with ease and finish what has been a storybook season? 3-1 for Isaac Paredes. Strike 2. We'll show the whole at bat here because it could be Cabrera's last of the year. His energy bar is about as low as possible. He's running out of gas. And Paredes fouls this one off. He swung a little bit early at the slider. Really nice pitch by Cabrera, barely on the edge of the strike zone. Following pitch, ball 4, low sinker, and the inning's going to stay alive for a little bit longer. That'll bring us back to the top of the order. Big opportunity for Randy Arozarena. He is 0 for 2 so far today. The 2-2. Got him on the slider! That'll wrap up the top of the 5th and likely Edward Cabrera's night and his season. What a journey it's been with Edward Cabrera. Another brilliant performance on the mound here in Game 7 of the World Series. We are witnessing greatness, everybody. Enjoy this because you don't see pitching performances like this every day. Jacob Berry leads off the bottom of the 5th, hits it well into left center. It is caught by Arozarena for the first out of the inning. Shane Baz, interestingly, still in the game. The Rays are going to ride it out with him, unlike they did in Game 2 when he was actually doing really well. Here's Nick Fortes, lines this ball high and deep in a left center. Back at the track, it's gone! Another home run for the Marlins. They've gone deep 4 separate times today. That's Fortes' 4th home run of the year, and it's now 5-1. For a guy who has struggled throughout the playoffs, Fortes has been money so far here in Game 7. I'm trying to think of potential postseason dud of the year candidates, but he's gone deep today. Brian De La Cruz has gone deep. These guys who have been a little bit inconsistent are balling out when the lights shine the brightest. Big swing for Fortes to add to the lead as it's now 5-1. De La Cruz rips this one down the line and fair. Got to assume at some point the Rays make a pitching change as that one goes 107 off the bat for a base hit. De La Cruz's 2nd of the game. And now is where Shane Baz will be removed. For the 2nd straight World Series appearance for him, he throws 4 1/3 innings. But this game was a lot different from his first. In Game 2, he was dominant. He looked unstoppable. But here in Game 7, he's allowed 4 long balls. And his night started off really good, too. He had 2 no-hit innings to open up the game, and then it just fell apart. The former Marlin, Sixto Sanchez, will come into the game. He's been really solid throughout the postseason, only having allowed 1 run so far in 8 1/3 innings. If the Marlins add some more runs, this game could turn into a blowout. The Rays need to keep it within striking distance, as Jazz Chisholm might have gotten hit, but he swung at the pitch. Has Jazz Chisholm been swinging with drunk goggles today? Some of his decisions have been perplexing. Luis Robert up the middle, base hit. 2 on, 2 away. What an opportunity for the cleanup hitter. Who would the Marlins want up in this situation? The guy who's been dominant throughout the entire World Series, Woody Landry, who homered in his last at-bat. Big swing and a miss. 100 miles an hour blowing right by him. And Woody now finds himself behind in the count, 1-2. This one low and outside. Woody's not going to swing it garbage. He's got to get the right pitch to hit, and knowing him, he's probably going to mash it. Count evens up now at 2-2. Again, low and outside. Pretty much the exact same location, same pitch as well from the previous pitch. Count is now full. Got to have both guys running as Landry fouls it off. Sixto's trying to get him with the low and outside changeup, and that time Woody Landry bites. Count remains full here. The two runners again on the move as Landry rips it into right field. His second hit of the game. And De La Cruz will be held up at third. Smart decision. He would have very clearly been out at home. And guess what that means? De La Cruz at third, Robert at second, and Landry at first. The bases are loaded. Oh, God. The Marlins, as we know, suck with the bases loaded, and it's Bo Bichette up who fouls off the changeup. The Marlins are going to look to change the bases loaded narrative here as the count is 2-2. Good eye. Low sinker inside. Doesn't fool him. So now it's a full count. Sanchez not making it easy on himself. And Bichette chases the slider for strike three. What a pitch by Sixto Sanchez. Run scores there if he just lays off, but he was aggressive and it backfires. Still not a bad inning because Nick Fortes homers, but the Marlins leave the bases loaded again. Into the sixth inning now, Edward Cabrera returns to the mound, but it's not to pitch. Rather, it's to get a well-deserved curtain call and ovation. What a season from Edward Cabrera. An MVP, a Cy Young, a no-hitter, and then in the postseason, he starts 6 games. He performs well in all of them, including Game 7 of the World Series. Sandy Alcantara will come out of the bullpen. The doctors have allowed him to pitch. He's going to get his opportunity to pitch in an Elimination World Series game. The leg appears to be good enough. Although that's not the start you hope for. Josh Lowe singles into center. That ball nearly ripped his head off. Imagine if Sandy only got to face one batter and had to be taken out again. That would be really sad. That'll bring up Wander Franco. He singles it into right. Sandy Alcantara, in his first 2 batters faced, has allowed the same amount of hits that Edward Cabrera did through the first 5 innings of the game. It's not ideal that those two have allowed the same amount of hits today. That'll bring up Brandon Lau. Count is full, and he draws a walk. Sandy does not look good so far. The bases are loaded with nobody out. This is Tampa's opportunity to bring themselves back into the game. That'll bring up Alfredo Herrera. He rips it into left field, past the diving glove of Bichette. 1 run scores, second looks to join, and the Rays are back in it. It's now 5-3, although the 2-run single from last year's World Series MVP, Alfredo Herrera. 4 straight base runners allowed by Alcantara to start the game. That'll bring up Zach Veen, who strikes out on the circle change. Sandy needed that one badly with how poor the start this has been for him. As that'll bring up the first baseman, Matt Thaiss. Rips it into center field. Robert can only watch it fly. Tampa Bay takes the lead. 3-run blast for Matt Thaiss, his 4th home run of the postseason. What a disastrous performance out of the bullpen by Sandy Alcantara, who takes a brilliant Edward Cabrera start, scrumples it up, throws it in the toilet, and flushes it down the drain. Wow, what a rally from Tampa Bay. As soon as Cabrera's taken out of the game, they start getting instant offense, and it's not like Sandy's some slouch. He finished in 2nd for the NL Cy Young. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. But that was a disaster. He can't keep pitching, can he? He'll be replaced by Camilo Duvall. I think Sandy does have a reasonable excuse. For one thing, he's banged up. Secondly, he was not mentally prepared to pitch today, and we only made the decision to have him come in the game in the 4th inning. The hits are going to keep on coming for the Rays as Jonathan Aranda singles it into center. Maybe it wasn't a Sandy Alcantara issue. Maybe it's that the Rays are just going to club every pitcher not named Edward Cabrera, which speaks to how good he is, especially coming off of 3 days rest. Isaac Paredes strikes out. Good pitch by Camilo Duvall, looking to get the momentum back as the loudness and excitement in this place has just been immediately zapped out of the air. Single for Arozarena, 2 on, 2 away. Big opportunity now for the number 2 hitter, that being Josh Lowe, to really break this game open. And he's going to fly this one into center field. Luis Robert chases after it, and he will make the play. What a disaster of a 6th inning. The Marlins were cruising through Game 7. They thought they had this game won. Well, not so fast. The Rays score 5 runs. They take a 6-5 lead. Luckily, the offense has had a good game, and 1 run is a very doable deficit. But my God, was that a catastrophe. Alec Bohm starts the bottom of the 6th off strong with a base hit. You just got to start stacking base runners. The Marlins have lived and died by the long ball. They need more singles and doubles. They need more guys on base, and a few big hits can propel them right back in the driver's seat. Sixto Sanchez will be taken out. He'll be replaced by the lefty Garrett Clevenger, who has not had a good postseason, but he has performed pretty well over his last few appearances against Miami. The Rays put him in for the lefty-on-lefty matchup against Jesus Sanchez. We got to keep Sanchez in the game with how well he's been hitting, but he strikes out on the outside slider. Great pitch by Clevenger for the first out of the inning. That'll bring up Jacob Berry now. Quiet start, 0 for 2, but he's ahead in the count, 3-1. And he rips this one past the diving glove of Theis for a single into right field. So the offense has responded. They get 2 base runners. Got to capitalize, though. Got to get some runs back and ideally take the lead. Nick Fortes, 2 for 2 today. He has scored twice, homered in his last at-bat as it goes off of Clevenger's back. Throw to first is in time. Good play by Aranda. Clevenger appears to be a little bit shaken up as he is ultimately going to stay in the game. Now Brian De La Cruz is up. What an opportunity for him. This is a guy who, throughout his career, has struggled with runners on base, but he has the opportunity to kill that narrative right here with 2 on and 2 away. De La Cruz's base hits in his last 2 at-bats. He's off to a great start here in Game 7, and the Rays are not going to give him his chance. Instead, he will be intentionally walked. The Rays want to set up the force out at all bases and have the lefty-on-lefty matchup. I think this is a mistake, though, because for one thing, Jazz Chisholm's clutch rating is nearly a 99. And secondly, he's had a great year off of lefties this year. I think the Rays very well could regret this decision. Base hit scores 2, extra base hit scores 3. Jazz Chisholm grounds it right to second. Aranda flips it over to Franco, and the Miami Marlins leave the bases loaded. Shocker. Maybe the reason why the Rays walked De La Cruz was so they could load the bases, because they knew the Marlins would not capitalize, and if that was their plan, well, they ended up being correct. Top 7, Wander Franco into left field. De La Cruz cannot make the play, and the Rays are just going to keep the hits coming. This team has looked completely different since Edward Cabrera was taken out of the game. That just speaks to how good Cabrera is. Brandon Lau, swing and miss on the slider. Good pitch by Camilo Doval, hoping to pad the bleeding and keep the lead at 1. Alfredo Herrera's now up. He drove in 2 in his last at-bat, and now he's going to likely get 2 out. 6, 4, 3, double play. Good job by the infield to turn 2. It remains 6-5 as we go bottom 7. The Miami Marlins, as we know, do not have a clutch bone in their body. Back-to-back innings, leaving the bases loaded in a 1-run game is unacceptable. The Rays are now going to go to the back end of their bullpen with Jason Adam coming into the game. Luis Robert will lead things off. This is a pivotal at-bat. The Marlins got to get more base runners, just like they did in the last inning. Start by getting guys on, and ideally, don't screw up with the bases loaded. Robert up the middle, base hit. There you go. Back-to-back at-bats with singles for Luis Robert. He's now 2 for 4 tonight. And the Marlins open up the inning with a base runner. Good start. Let's keep it going. Woody Landry, back-to-back at-bats with hits. Can the Marlins get another one out of him? It looks like they will. In the left field, Rosarena cannot make the play. Big start to the bottom of the 7th for the Marlins. They have 2 runners on. I know this team is not clutch at all. They've had a bunch of runners on the last 2 innings and have scored nobody. But my God, please get something here. Bichette, fooled on the slider again. That's the same pitch that Bichette struck out on in his last at-bat, and the count was also full there. What a disastrous game from Bo Bichette. Alec Bohm is now up, and with 1 away, this is a huge at-bat. Bohm is the most clutch hitter on this roster, and as you can see, the Rays have a new pitcher in the game, Pete Fairbanks. He's only pitched in 1 postseason game so far. He's made it through 2/3 of an inning, allowing 4 runs. The Marlins hoping to get similar success here as the count is now 2-2 off of a swing and miss. And Bohm puts it on the ground. You've got to be kidding me. 6, 4, 3, inning ending, double play. Death, taxes, and the Marlins leaving runners on base. Even Alec Bohm, who's been clutch all year, grounds into a double play at the worst possible time. Through 7, the Rays lead it 6-5. Tampa Bay is 2 innings away from winning the World Series, but there's still plenty of time. Griffin Jax comes out of the bullpen here for the Marlins, acquired in July at the trade deadline from Minnesota. He will start with Zach Veen. Rips it down the line. Into the corner. That should go for extra bases. De La Cruz gets to it quickly, but not before Veen makes it to second with a double. The Rays, with a runner in scoring position and nobody out, another run might not be the dagger, but boy, it would put them in a good position. Deas, who had the big homer in his last at-bat, grounds out to second. Jazz Chisholm makes the play, but the runner advances to third. If this ball is put in play from Jonathan Aranda, that should score the run. Aranda's 2 for 3 today, but he strikes out on the circle change. Big pitch by Griffin Jax. He needed that one. That'll bring up Isaac Paredes. Big opportunity for him as he thinks about the slider. Doesn't take. Counts now 3-1. Jax cannot give him a good pitch, but he also can't walk him. Unfortunately, he does the latter. A walk doesn't drive in a run, but that's not ideal. That'll now bring up Randy Arozarena, one of the greatest postseason hitters of all time at this point, with an opportunity to basically seal the World Series for Tampa Bay. Griffin Jax is not giving him anything good. He seems a little bit intimidated on the mound, not giving him any pitch to swing, and he draws a walk. The bases are loaded. Griffin Jax's control has been off a little bit, so the Marlins are going to take him out and bring Johan Duran in the game now. It's not a save situation, but this is an emergency. Code red. We're in a jam and we need to get out of it. Josh Lowe is up for the Rays, 2-1. Lowe grounds it to first. Woody Landry tags the base, and the Rays leave the bases loaded. A taste of their own medicine. Duran fired up as it remains 6-5. The Marlins have had so many base runners on the last few innings. In the 7th, they got 2 guys on. In the 5th and 6th, they loaded the bases. None of those guys scored. Something's got to give. This 1-2 slider is called a ball. Very lucky call for Jesus Sanchez. That was clearly in the strike zone. Doesn't take. Proves to be a good decision. With the 7, 8, 9 hitters up here, I think we could see Isaac Stu make an appearance, replacing either Berry in the 8-hole or Fortes in the 9-hole. Count is now full for Sanchez after looking at the outside fastball. Big pitch here for Fairbanks. Sanchez fouls it off. That one going 100 miles an hour. I feel like that was the pitch to hit, and Sanchez times it a little bit, swinging just a hair too late. Following pitch, Sanchez hit sharply to short, caught by Franco. That was a great pitch by Fairbanks because that pitch is probably called a strike, but that's a really tough pitch to hit. Jacob Berry will stay in the game, so I would presume Isaac Stu will replace Nick Fortes instead. Berry pops it up into foul territory. Can Arozarena get to it? Not quite. The Marlins have had a few lucky breaks during this 8th inning, and hopefully they can capitalize off of that one. Following pitch here for Jacob Berry on the way for Fairbanks. Swinging a miss at the high fastball. I think he expected that pitch to curve down. It does not. And now, 19-year-old Isaac Stu is in for the most important at-bat of his life, replacing Nick Fortes. I get that Fortes has 2 hits today, but we trust Isaac Stu a lot more to get on base. Looks at the inside fastball. He's not swinging at junk. He saw what Jacob Berry just did and will not make the same mistake. 2-1 pitch is an outside sinker, and Stu finds himself ahead. Got to assume Fairbanks is going to put this pitch in the strike zone, so Stu has to be aggressive, but he can't force it either. If it's a bad pitch, got to let it go. 3-1 on its way. Stu's swinging a miss. That ball coming in at 100 miles an hour. The biggest at bat of this 19-year-old's life. Count is full. 2 away, 1-run game. And Isaac Stu is going to tie it up! Launches it into left field! 19 years old, huh? Game 7 of the World Series. He ties it up, coming off the bench with a pinch hit home run. Isaac Stu's had a good playoff run. He's hit for great contact, but virtually no power. He has not hit a home run in the postseason until right now. And man, it could not have come at a better time. Play of the game so far, play of the World Series thus far, play of the season, play of this entire series. Oh my goodness, what a swing from Isaac Stu coming off the bench in Game 7 of the World Series. This kid is 19 years old, and he just made one of the biggest swings in the history of Major League Baseball. What a play by Isaac Stu. We're knotted up at 6. That'll bring up Brian De La Cruz now. Looks at the low sinker. De La Cruz is going to be patient as well. Give him a good pitch to swing. If not, he's not going to swing. 3-1, low and inside for a walk. So the winning run is on base, and we're going to bring in a pinch runner. Could that be Brian De La Cruz's final appearance as a Marlin? He's one of the many guys on this team who's a free agent. If it is, that's one way to end your Marlins career, reaching base on your last 4 at-bats. Esteury Ruiz comes up as a pinch runner, and it's Jazz Chisholm up to the plate. Ruiz is going to look to steal second. Throw from Herrera is in time! They got him! The Marlins want to be aggressive, and it backfires. Successful inning, though. They tie the game with a pinch hit home run by Isaac Stu. We're knotted up at 6. Going into the 9th inning, it's anybody's game. The heart of both teams' orders are due up. These are the best offensive players. 3-4-5 due up the Rays. That starts with Wander Franco. 2-1 pitch. Franco ignites it into left field. Stu after it at the wall. It's gone! Wander Franco puts the Rays right back on top. 7-6. A solo home run for Franco. His 3rd of the postseason. All of which have come within the last 2 games. His 2nd home run of this game. His 4th hit of the night. We are letting a child predator basically single-handedly take down our franchise. I mean, this is embarrassing. If it was anybody else on the Rays, I'd be a little less upset. But Wander Franco, are you kidding me? I wonder what Johan Duran was thinking there when he located that pitch, because it went right down the middle. So the Rays are right back ahead by 1. Duran's going to stay in the game as he strikes out Brandon Lau. I get that Duran just allowed a big home run, but we still trust him more than anybody else available in the bullpen. Herrera grounded to third. Berry bobbles it. This could be another error, but he makes a great recovery to throw him out. Good job by Jacob Berry to quickly make the play there. That would have been his 2nd error of the night otherwise. Zach Veen is now up. He's going gap. This one's going to drop for extra bases. Sanchez quickly after it, and that'll go for a double. If the Rays score another run, that could prove to spell trouble for the Marlins. 1 run is already a deficit. Multiple runs would not be ideal, and it's Matt Thaiss up to bat. He had the big home run back in the 6th inning off of Sandy Alcantara to put the Rays ahead as he misses the foul. 1-2. Got him looking on the 12-6 curve. So the Rays regain the lead with a solo home run by Wander Franco, and it comes down to this. Going into the bottom of the 9th inning, the Marlins trail by 1. 2, 3, 4 hitters due up. That's Chisholm, Robert, and Landry. Definitely the 3 Miami wants up in this situation, and it's going to be against the former Marlin, Devin Williams, who's in for the save. Williams looking for revenge against his old team. The 2 guys who we got at the deadline to replace him with both had a hand in letting the Rays gain the lead. It would be poetic justice for Williams if he gets the save to win the Rays the World Series. Jazz Chisholm looks at the screwball to start things off. Count now 2-2. Jazz has had a rough day today, but he can make up for it by just getting on base here. Weak dribbler up the middle. Gonna be a tough play for Williams. Throw to first is in time. There's 1. The Rays are 2 outs away from winning the World Series. That'll bring up Luis Robert. He's been inconsistent throughout this series, but throughout the duration of the postseason, he has been incredible. As he grounds this one right to second. Aranda makes the play, and now the Rays are down to their final out. Jazz Chisholm's not the hero. Luis Robert's not the hero. What about Woody Landry? He has been remarkable in the World Series, hitting over 500, and today he's been brilliant. 3 for 4, homered back in the 4th inning as the count is 1-1. Landry fouls it off in a left field, and the Rays are 1 strike away from winning the World Series. Miami's season comes down to this. Woody's got to get on base or else it's game over. Woody Landry hits it sharply up the middle. Franco, diving play. Throw to first. In time. It's over. The Tampa Bay Rays have won the World Series for a 2nd consecutive season. The Rays pull off the comeback. They trailed 5-1, through 5 innings tonight, and then Edward Cabrera gets taken out of the game, and then Tampa Bay's offense goes nuclear. That big 6th inning to score 5 runs is ultimately enough for the Rays to win their 2nd consecutive championship, and the last dance for this Marlins core ends up short. This one hurts. It really hurts. I mean, we had this game won. We led 5-1 through 5 innings. Edward Cabrera pitched out of his mind per usual. And then we choked. And there's a few reasons how we choked. For starters, we shouldn't have brought Sandy Alcantara in the game. And I don't want to give him too many excuses because he has to be better. But I think you can make a lot of excuses for him as the Rays hold up the trophy. Whoop-de-doo. But Sandy was not supposed to pitch today. He was prepared to pitch last night. I get that his arm was loose, but he wasn't mentally prepared to pitch tonight because we didn't know if he would up until a couple innings prior to him entering the game when we had him warm up in the bullpen. He was just cleared moments before the game started by the doctors, so rather than warming up prior to the game, his leg was being worked on. Along with him, our offense was not clutch at all. In the 5th inning, we left the bases loaded. In the 6th inning, we left the bases loaded. In the 7th inning, we let 2 guys on base. And then to finish off the game, the bullpen choked. Jackson, Duran, I think, are the 2 to blame and the reason why we lost. The Rays had a few standouts offensively. Wander Franco, oh my goodness, was he brilliant. 4 for 5, 2 home runs. Franco did not have a hit in the World Series until Game 5, and he took over this series down the stretch. And it sucks that the child predator of all people was the guy to do that. I think the biggest play of the game, though, other than the home run in the 9th inning by Franco, was the 3-run homer by Matt Thaiss in the 6th inning to put them ahead 6-5 and really give them all the momentum, which they ultimately took and carried for the rest of the game. 6 runs and 13 hits presumably looks pretty good, and we had some guys play really well today offensively. Brian De La Cruz reached base 4 times. He went deep. Woody Landry, 3 for 5, homer. Sanchez went deep. Fortes had a great game. Isaac Stu, pinch hit home run. But our offense wasn't clutch with guys on base. Edward Cabrera was brilliant, but once he was taken out of the game, the pitching wasn't the same. Sandy Alcantara was not good. Camilo Duvall allowed a lot of hits. Griffin Jacks loaded the bases, and because of that, we had to bring Johan Duran in the game early, and thus, he wasn't in his regular rhythm going in the 9th inning, which I think is partly why he allowed the home run to Wander Franco, which ultimately was the deciding play for us to lose the game. So an unfortunate loss there, and I think the reason why this one hurts the most is because we could have won. If any of those things that I just mentioned go our way or go differently, we win the game. If the bullpen is more consistent, if we're clutch on offense, if Sandy Alcantara plays well, we probably would have won. As I mentioned with Sandy, I think it's really fair to make excuses for him because he was hurt. He wasn't supposed to pitch today. He was thrown into a quick situation, and he obviously did not pitch well. And I hate that that might be his legacy here. He's a free agent. He might be gone. I would hate for him to be remembered as the guy who lost us the World Series because he's been so much more than that. In the bullpen, the 2 guys we got at the trade deadline, Griffin Jacks and Johan Duran, both kind of blew it. If Griffin Jacks, as I mentioned earlier, doesn't allow all those base runners in the 8th inning, then we don't have to bring Duran in, and Duran might not allow the home run. We brought those 2 guys in at the deadline to make the bullpen more consistent, not lose us the game, and to add icing on the top, the guy who we replaced got the save in Game 7 of the World Series, Devin Williams. The other issue is that our offense wasn't clutch, and that's been an issue with this team since like episode 2 of the entire series. I like to kid and joke around about how we always leave the bases loaded, but that literally costed us the game. We let the bases loaded on 2 separate occasions, and we let runners stay on in other spots as well. While certain players like De La Cruz and Fortes and Landry were really good today, there were other players who came up short. Jazz Chisholm was terrible. Some of the pitches he swung at were really bad. He went 0 for 4. Bo Bichette 0 for 4, swung at some bad pitches. Alec Boehm 1 for 4, grounded into a horrible double play in the 7th inning. Jacob Berry 1 for 4, swung at some really bad pitches. Those guys came up short, and if one of those guys makes a play at some point in that game, we probably would have won it. And as I've been mentioning, this is probably the last dance. Look at all our free agents. In the outfield, the entire starting group. Luis Robert, Brian De La Cruz, and Jesus Sanchez. In the infield, Kim, Bichette, boom. That's 6 position players. In the rotation, Sandy Alcantara and Jeffrey Springs. We only have one set and reliable starter next year, albeit Edward Cabrera is the best pitcher in baseball, but still, he can only pitch a fifth of our games. Or in the World Series, he can pitch 3 of them. In the bullpen, Johan Duran, Jordan Hicks, Griffin Jacks, and Paul Sewald are all free agents. That's 12 players. That's literally half of our roster not under contract. Now, I will say, we do have plenty of financial flexibility. Only $69 million currently tied up next year. Nice. So because of that, we will be able to bring back a handful of players back. But we're not going to be able to have everybody return. Sandy Alcantara is going to ask for at least $200 million. So is Bo Bichette and Luis Robert. And we have other guys like Jesus Sanchez, Brian De La Cruz, Jeffrey Springs, Alec Boehm. They're all going to ask for at least $10 million annually. Johan Duran's probably going to ask for at least $10 million annually. Those guys are all going to want a ton of money. We're only going to be able to bring back a few. Let me know what you guys think we should do down below in the comments for this upcoming offseason. Easily the most pivotal of the series. It sucks that this is how this season is coming to a close because this has been a really fun season. But man, this is a heartbreaking way to lose the World Series. I am legitimately hurt by how we lost. But it's back to the drawing board. Another offseason upcoming. And hopefully season 6, that's when we can potentially finish off the job. I hope everybody enjoyed the episode. Nonetheless, still a really fun game. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.